Hello the public, today we will talk about the most dangerous bloon in all of BTD6. That is of course the DDT. DDTs combine many dangerous qualities, such as speed, the high HP typical for Mohap class bloons and immunities such as Camo and lead. This makes them very difficult to counter compared to most other bloon types. The fact that they only start to spawn so late makes it increasingly frustrating to lose to them since you will have to redo a lot of rounds. In this video we will explore how exactly the DDTs work, what their weaknesses are and how you can pop them efficiently and consistently in your games. So let us go step by step. DDTs are Mohab class bloons with a relatively high HP pool, that have lead and black properties, which make them immune to sharp, shatter, energy and explosion type damage. They also always spawn as a Camo variant and have 4 Camo regrow ceramics inside of them. Perhaps their greatest strength, however, is their speed. In order to effectively counter DDTs we need to be prepared for each of those aspects. First let's start with the simplest one, the HP. The first DDTs appear in round 90 or round 88 for alternate bloon rounds. By this stage you have already faced many MOB class bloons, so typically your defense will be capable of handling the HP of a DDT. Speaking some numbers, a regular blue MOB has a base HP of 200, while a DDT has double that at 400. A BFB starts at 700 while a ZOMG already begins at 4000. Given their relatively small HP pool for a blimp that appears so late, the most prominent reasons for your defense not handling them properly is usually the immunity, rather than a lack of DPS. That brings us to the second step. I already mentioned that a DDT is a combination of lead, black, and Camo. The Camo part is very straightforward, you just need to make sure that the important parts of your defense can detect Camo. This is easy to achieve by adding a village that has the radar scanner upgrade. Alternatively, you can also use towers that remove Camo from the DDTs. This is slightly more tricky than simply using the village, but it can be cheaper and more space efficient, so we will take a look at a few good Camo removing options. The main ones to keep in mind are the submerge and support submarine, the cleansing foam engineer, and the signal flare mortar. The submarine's advantages are that it also makes a great early game tower and is relatively cheap to acquire. The drawbacks are also obvious. The path needs to be close to water for it to be consistent. The cleansing foam shares similar advantages as it makes for a very good early game tower as well by combining great range, high pierce and a stun effect on the main attack as well as a slow effect on the foam using the ping cross path. The main drawback for the cleansing foam is that it can't easily cover several paths, and the lack of pierce to handle dense clusters of bloons. Luckily there is a nice trick to get around the pierce aspect. We can target the foam to be slightly away from the track, that way it will only use pierce on the bigger MOB hitbox instead of wasting it on bloons. That way we now have enough pierce to cleanse all DDTs. Unfortunately, we still won't have enough pierce to decamo all the ceramics on round 78 or the purples and leads at the start of round 95. So while cleansing foam can be a great option for DDTs, you will need some other way of Camo for mid-game. That brings us to the third option, the signal flare. The advantages of the mortar are easy to see. It is able to attack globally and has a good area of effect. In fact, the area of decamo is much larger than the area of damage, so the signal flare is surprisingly consistent for its attack speed. The drawbacks are pretty simple too. Only one area can be targeted at a time and the attack speed is slow. Even with the speed crosspath you cannot keep up with several lanes very well. Additionally, the mortar is also noticeably more expensive than the other two options and provides a lesser early game power. Okay, enough about the Camo part. Let's get to the important bit of the immunities. Many people believe that DDTs only have the lead bloon immunity, but in fact they share both the lead and the black one. Lead makes them immune to all sharp, shatter, and energy type attacks. Sharp and shatter are very similar damage types. Sharp is unable to damage lead and frozen, while shatter is only incapable against lead. They generally include things like darts, tacks and nails, blades, shurikens, glaives, and similar projectiles. Energy type attacks are weak to lead and purples and usually include things like lasers. Examples for energy type towers would be the laser vision super monkey or a standard wizard monkey. The black property also makes them immune to explosive type. Oftentimes it is easy to tell what damage type your tower has, just by the theme of its projectiles. But of course there are weird outliers. If you want to double-check a tower's damage type, you can look up the tower on the wiki. Or use the free Discord bot CyberQuincy. Now armed with this knowledge you are able to determine if your setup will be effective against DDTs or if the immunities will block you. But how do we fix our defense if we have bad damage types? There are several solutions. The most obvious and simple one is the MIB on the Monkey Village. It allows all affected towers to damage all bloons equally and completely skips the damage type worries. Sadly, it is also expensive and can take away a lot of space, so we also want to be on the lookout for better options if possible. If you are planning on using towers like bomb shooters that would run into the explosion immunity, the answer is very simple: you just choose Striker Jones as your hero. As he levels up, he gradually makes the black property less effective and eventually allows your towers to ignore it entirely. This, paired with passive buffs and powerful abilities, makes him the perfect solution to the explosive issue. When it comes to the lead part, we are presented with many options. We do again have a hero that can help, since Gwen allows towers to damage lead bloons when they are affected by her heated up buff, but unlike Striker Jones, she is not the best pick for towers that are weak to lead, so we would rather have a non-hero solution to allow more variety. The three most common solutions to choose from are as follows: Glue Storm, Embrittlement, Alchemist buff. Glue Strike and Glue Storm disable the lead property while they are applied, as well as providing a very nice damage debuff for your towers to take advantage of. The main issues with this solution are the price and the downtime of the ability. So if you feel insecure about your timing or you know your defense wouldn't be able to utilize the debuff very well, this tower will not be worth the money. Embrittlement, however, is very cheap and doesn't rely on an ability, so it comes without downtime. However, it has a different drawback that comes from the slow attacking. DDTs are very quick and can easily slip through your embrittlement if you don't have appropriate slow effects for them, which we will get to later. Generally speaking though, embrittlement is an amazing solution, with it clearing camo permanently as well as disabling lead and applying a weaker debuff temporarily. Lastly, we are left with the Alchemist buff. The Tier 2 of Top Path Acidic Mixture Dip, or AMD, allows affected towers to pop lead as well as giving them +1 damage to ceramics, blimps and fortified bloons. This buff is great but suffers from uptime issues. If you want to use this on a tower, that tower can't attack too rapidly or your AMDs won't keep up. You also need to have the tower somewhat isolated so the AMDs don't spread their buffs. Unlike the Berserker Brew and Stimulant, AMD does not target closest but randomly chooses any unbuffed tower in its range for the buff. This is easily the most situational solution since it only works well for some towers, but whenever you can, you do want to use this option over the others. The main examples of towers where AMD stacking works well on are Bloon Exclusion Zone, 205 Dartling Gunner, Icicle Impale, 025 Ice Monkey, and the Desert Phantom, 025 Desperado. Lastly, remember that if none of these MIB skipping options appeal to you or neither fits your defense, then you can always fall back on the MIB. Now we get to the last and most important part: speed. Understanding speed in Bloons is important for this. In Bloons we usually measure distance in red bloon seconds, where 1 red bloon second is the distance a red bloon can cover in 1 second. So the speed of a bloon would be measured in red bloon seconds per second, or just how much faster a bloon is compared to a red bloon. The fastest bloon in the game is the pink bloon at 3.5 times the red bloon speed. Many people believe that a DDT is the same speed as a pink, but that is not exactly right. The pink, yellow, and purple bloon are all faster than a DDT. On the screen right now you can see the different bloon variants and their speed relative to each other. Okay, so we know that DDTs may not be the fastest, but they are still dangerously fast. And of course, after round 80, free play scaling applies and blimps get 2% faster and harder every round. That means they are already 20% faster and 20% more durable at a 90 than their base stats suggest. Of course, this is a general phenomenon and not limited to DDTs, but it helps to keep this in mind. This matters especially for those of you who like to test in sandbox. If you send a Bloon in sandbox to see how a tower performs against it, keep in mind that the round you set has an impact on the speed, and if it is a blimp, also the HP. This can help to avoid getting inaccurate results. Now let's get to how to counter the speed. Since we already looked at the damage type problem, we can now rely on our existing defense to damage DDTs, so instead of trying to get more tier 5s and high-cost towers onto the field, we want to bet on efficient support towers. This is crucial because they will fit every defense and don't eat up huge chunks of budget, but they are still powerful enough to make a world of a difference. The best two towers for this job are Mob Glue and Relentless Glue, and Bloon Sabotage. Bloon Sabotage is easy to understand and easy to make work. The ability makes every affected layer move at 50% speed, effectively doubling your time to pop them. The duration for this effect is 15 seconds, which covers nearly every single DDT, only missing a small amount on round 95. The ability will also slow down balloons and blimps that aren't on screen at time of activation as long as it is active, so you can use it simply as soon as you see DDTs. The ability cooldown is short enough to be up for every DDT wave in the game. Mob Glue is not quite as effective in terms of slowing and doesn't apply globally or instantly. In return, Mob Glue is cheaper and works against every round with no ability cooldown. Where it gets really interesting, however, is the tier 4 of the glue path, Relentless Glue. The glue now gains the ability to stun balloons, blue Moabs, and DDTs, which enables it to completely stop their movement with a few good stun chains. This can make a huge difference. Since both Sabotage and the glue path are relatively cheap and still quite powerful against every other round while being extremely effective against DDT specifically, you basically never go wrong with buying both of these in all your chimps games. That was everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed and learned something to apply in your games. If you have any questions, please leave a comment or join the Discord server. Let me know what kind of video you want to see next. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and until then, have a wonderful day, and goodbye.